What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Celtics Daily with me, Mike Zakarian, and it is tough to bring the energy today because last night in Game 4 in Madison Square Garden was just bad all around. If you tuned into a recent video, we called out that we expected a big Jason Tatum game in Game 4, and he did not disappoint early on, man. Tatum was just incredible. He and Derek White were really the only reason the Celtics were in this game. Not only in this game, but leading this game. They were just incredible as the Celtics put up 39 points in the first quarter, and it was Tatum who went 16 for 28 from the field. He knocked down 7 of his 16 three-pointers, went 3 for 3 from the line, 42 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, and 2 blocks, only 4 turnovers. But unfortunately, towards the end of the game, after an errant pass by Jaylen Brown, Tatum's going for a loose ball. And then I hate to say it, but similar to what we saw with Damian Lillard and the Milwaukee Bucks, man, just kind of grabbed back a little bit in a non-contact injury, and they're still holding out hope as the final or official report has yet to come out. He's supposed to be going under an MRI earlier or later today. But it's looking like it's probably an Achilles, and that just absolutely nukes just everything, man. I mean, of course, you feel for Tatum first and foremost, and we hope that he gets better soon and that he's like got a healthy recovery. But you could just see in the post game press conference from talking to guys like Joe Mazzulla and Jaylen Brown and Al Horford. I mean, they're just the energy there or lack thereof. It was just very, very somber and sad. And I'm sure part of that was blowing another game, which we'll talk about in a second. But if you start zooming out a little bit more, man, we talked about Damian Lillard, right? Where this happened a couple of weeks ago for the Milwaukee Bucks. And now, granted, the difference is Damian's a little bit older, but this typically is a year-long recovery if it's a torn Achilles, which then puts Tatum out all of the 25-26 season. And now we're talking about what this team would look like if this time next year, depending on how this postseason went. And this really throws a wrench into it, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But man, just a terrible, terrible way to essentially end the season. But hopefully, I mean, they're still holding out hope that maybe it's not a tear and that maybe it's just like a crazy grade 11 ankle sprain or something like that. But the fact that it was non-contact, the way that he reacted, I'm sure you've all seen footage by now of him just kind of being wheeled out to the locker room, a la Paul Pierce, although more of a real injury than what Paul Pierce was dealing with in the finals way back when. But I mean, he had the look of devastation. The one thing, it did seem like it was very painful, which it shouldn't sound like a good thing. But typically, these Achilles tears aren't necessarily like, if you remember, it happened to KD. If you remember, even when it happened to Damian Lillard, like there's definitely like it feels like you were almost like shot from afar or something like that. But it doesn't typically like cause writhing pain. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just trying to be like, I don't even want to say glass half full, quarter half full, that it's not a full tear, because if it is an Achilles tear, man, he's gonna miss a whole season. He's gonna miss a whole season. It's a sucky way to go out. Let's move on to the game itself. The Celtics really just another second half letdown, and the offense just fell stagnant again. You get to the second half, and it was more of dribble, 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 three, dribble, 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 three. Not really a ton of ball movement. And what I don't understand is it's not like they were doing that in the first half and were effective. So they were like, let's keep doing that in the second half. And you need to credit the Knicks defense because they really stepped it up. Even Karl Anthony Towns, who was, statistically getting cooked on defense, I thought still like gave a pretty solid effort. OG Anunoby did everything he could defensively. But like, I don't understand why you just kind of pivot, because in the first half, balls zipping around, a lot of open, like it was definitely still a lot of threes, but it was open threes, right? But the story of this game is something outside of the Celtics blowing another lead, is what we talked about in yesterday's video, and it was the rebounds, all right? So let's do some of these stats from this game. So the Celtics finished this game with 31 boards, 7 of them offensive, right? On the Knicks side of things, they finished the game with 43 boards, 13 of them offensive. And you're like, okay, whatever. That's not like that's a 6 offensive rebound thing. Ready? Well, look at this. The Knicks got up 92 shots to the Celtics, who only got up 79 shots. So the three-point percentage was pretty close. The Celtics went 18 for 48. That's 37.5%. Knicks shot 35% from three. The turnovers were 12 and 12. They had the same amount of turnovers, but the biggest difference is the Knicks were able to get up more shots. And listen, I'm not a mathematician, but the more shots equaled more points. But what was so frustrating is the Celtics, in a very high-scoring first quarter, go on, I believe it was like a 12-2 or 16-2 run in like the last like minute or so, or 2 minutes of the game or whatever it was. I mean, of the first quarter. They finished the quarter on it's 39-28. You get an 11-point lead. They take that, they build that up to like 14-16. Then they lose some of that lead. They go into halftime still up 11, and then they get outscored by 14 points in the third quarter, 37-23. Defense falls apart. Credit the Knicks. They started making very difficult shots. Brunson was just freaking amazing, man. It's hard to be mad at a team like that. And then in the fourth quarter, they got outscored by 5 as well. Final score 121-113. I think a lot of the conversation around Game 4, outside of the Tatum injury, is going to be like, Jaylen Brown, where were you, man? 7 for 16 from the field, 2 for 8 from 3. Again, the counting stats look fine. 20.7 boards. You're like, okay, that's not terrible, but it just was not enough. He didn't seem like he was athletically there. Again, in Game 3, looked a little bit more spry. I don't know if that was like back against the wall. You freak out a little bit. But in Game 4, the Knicks' physicality was more like they were more aggressive, like we thought was going to happen. The boards were just so important. And Boston couldn't get up on there. And then, I mean, man, Porzingis played 24 minutes, and I don't know. I feel bad for this guy because he wants to be out there. He loves Boston. He really seems to just kind of mesh with the city really well. But he's not healthy, man. He's not healthy. He can't finish around the rim. Like in the 24 minutes, he went 2 for 6 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3. 7 points, 4 rebounds. Just like, I don't know. Luke Cornett, I almost would have rather see some of those minutes, and I can't believe that's what I'm saying. Pritchard was okay. He had 12 points. But Al Horford, again, one of the things we were concerned about is Al being a little bit older, and then like between games 2 and games 3, he had 2 days off, was fresh, was running around. Game 4, he only had 1 day off, and it showed in this one. And then Drew Holiday, I don't know if maybe I should have pointed that out, his age out as well, because same thing. He just didn't have it, and it just was not enough, and the Celtics dropped this one 3-1. Honestly, I take a little solace knowing that the Celtics blew this game before the Tatum injury. It was still a close game. I think it was like a 6 or 8 point game when Tatum went down. So obviously, in like 4 minutes left, 5 minutes left. So they still had a shot, of course, right? But I think I'd be way more in my feelings if the Celtics were winning that game when Tatum went down and then they went to lose. So the Celtics lost this game on their own. So they go down 3-1 now. We head back to Boston for Game 5, and I mean it's hard to get excited because like the Celtics can absolutely win Game 5. They can. They're going to go back to home. They're going to go back home. You assume the role players will play a little bit better at home, even though they did not in Games 1 and 2. You would assume maybe Sam Hauser is back, which I can't believe that's what we're saying. Like, oh no, please give me Sam Hauser. But maybe Sam Hauser is back. And then, you feed off the energy, backs against the wall. You kind of throw the kitchen sink at them, right? So there's a real chance they win Game 5. What there is no chance of is winning 3 consecutive games without Jason Tatum and like with the corpse of Kristaps Porzingis. And just they don't have the depth of the talent right now to do it. I don't think. I know the Celtics I think they were like 8-1 or 8-2 without Tatum this year. So obviously they're still a very talented team, but this is the postseason. It's a little bit different. Tatum has been their best rebounding guy in the postseason. Again, he led the team in rebounding last night with 8. Didn't even play the last 4 minutes of the game. So, and the rebounding was already a problem. So, what does this mean? Like they're going to play double big with Luke Cornett and Al Horford? This is toast. This is toast. And I imagine, again, maybe they come out and get Game 5, but this series is essentially over. And I wouldn't even be surprised if they just pack it in for Game 5. Just wanted to rattle off some Knicks stats here too from this most recent game, just to give them again a little bit of love. Brunson again. Insane. 14 for 25 from the field. He had 39 points and 12 dimes. Cat had 23 and 11. OG had 20. Mikal Bridges had 23. Josh Hart did his Draymond Green impression with 6 points, 9 boards, and 5 dimes. And then Mitchell Robinson went out there. He got 8 boards of his own, 5 offensive rebounds. I believe those were all in the first half too. But like 4 of their starters all over 20 points, with Brunson almost doubling that up with 39. So Knicks, man, you got to give them credit. Like, you want to say the Celtics are the more talented team. I still do believe that, but that doesn't matter. On paper does not get you actual wins. And when you blow your first two games at home, this is what happens. You've blown 20-point leads in game one, in game two, a 16-point lead in game four. And when you do that, you give a team life. But not only that, it like the margin for error is super thin. Now, obviously, Tatum's injury is a major error, right? It's a major injury. But I mean, if they had taken care of business and they were up 3-0 or even 2-1, and now you're going back to Boston 2-2, or you're going back 3-1, then you're like, okay, we just need to steal one of these games. Now you can't lose again, right? And so it's really looking like we're going to get a Knicks Pacers Eastern Conference Finals, and I can't believe it. But I don't want to just discredit. I want to make sure we're not discrediting what the Knicks did, because they were great. They mentally a tougher team than this Boston Celtics team, which seems insane to say because this Celtics team just won a championship, but it's what it is. And maybe it's the hunger that the Knicks have because they haven't been at the top of the mountain yet, and the Celtics were just there. Celtics have also played a ton of playoff minutes. But I don't know. Now what this means for the future is nuts, man, because Chisholm, right, the new Celtics owner, just spent $1 billion. No, 7 billion. Excuse me, seven. I tried to say $1 billion like in an exaggerated fashion, and it was actually 6 times or 7 times more than that. I don't think he paid all this money to have a team get bounced in the second round. There were already rumors that the Celtics were going to have to do some salary cutting. We knew Sam Hauser probably not going to be back next year because another team was going to pay him a little bit more. But now, I mean, Drew Holiday and or Kristaps Porzingis probably both gone as well. You assume Tatum's not going to be there for most of next season if it is a torn Achilles, which, again, by the time you see this video, maybe we'll already know. But get ready to learn a lot of Peyton Pritchard minutes. I'm sure that's what's going to happen. But the Celtics are in trouble next year, and I imagine this team, by the time Tatum comes back onto the court, this team is going to look very, very different. And now they control all their assets, I believe, so they could punt on this year if they wanted to, and or this upcoming year, maybe they really move off a ton of salary. But it's gonna be dark. It's gonna be a dark green before it gets back to bright green. One other thing, listen, I know Jaylen Brown, we'll close on this. I know Jaylen Brown was pretty tough in this postseason. I'm certain we're going to learn his knee injury was a little bit more concerning than we initially, or at least than what we were told. And yeah, there's times where JB looks pretty frustrating, right? You don't want him to turn the ball over as much as he does. You kind of want him to stay a little bit more locked in as a defender. There's going to be some wild discourse, and I saw some of it already, where I saw somebody on Twitter, which was where I go to get all my news, that you'd rather take Zach LaVine over Jaylen Brown right now. I think we should all put the drugs away, all right? I think, yes, Jaylen Brown, there could be some very frustrating aspects of his game. The dude has gotten better every this season. He, a streaky three-point shooter for sure. Nobody can get, he gets to the rim with some ease, typically when healthy, a solid defender. He's an all-star. I know the price tag looks big, right? We're like, oh my God, he's making $300 million. He's not a threat. Listen, that's not your money. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. You don't have to worry about how much he's getting paid. He's still out there. He's still an all-star. He's a top 20, 25 guy, or top 20 guy in the league. I think he's close to all NBA every year. So let's put the Brown hate aside here, because I do think we're going to learn he was playing through quite a bit of injuries. Was I frustrated with his game last night? Yes, but I'd rather have Jaylen Brown than not have Jaylen Brown. There's your glass half full take. Apologies for the somber note here this morning, fellers, but this was a tough one last night, especially being a Celtics fan living in New York. But we're gonna. I don't know. We're going to see a lot more of the Knicks, I think. And who knows? Maybe the Celtics go full cowboy up Red Sox history, right? And pull off a miraculous comeback being down 3-1. But I'm telling you, with the way they're playing, the way that the roster is now depleted, it's looking bad. I hope to be back next time with a little bit more intensity. Maybe tomorrow we can make fun of the NBA draft because somehow the Dallas Mavericks got bailed out again. Unbelievable. But appreciate you tuning in. Do me a favor, smash the subscribe before you get on out of here, and we'll see you next time.